Right now?
Right now.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Very professional.
Now.
How about
We're
it?
in the now.
Welcome,
Good evening, everyone.
sports fans.
We're getting paid.
Nice.
Got to get some advertising. That's good. That's a good sign. That
Like
Make that extra.
.01.
dollar.
Make sure that deposit hits the account.
We're good.
Nice.
We're hot.
You ready to gum?
Excuse me for my
Everything.
everything.
Allergies. We'll call it allergies.
Yes. Let's call it allergies.
It's called having a 9.5-month-old.
My symptoms.
All right. Here we go. Thank you so much for being with us on a Tuesday night here in Kensington, Maryland. First Amendment Sports Podcast Studios. I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
My favorite Tuesday of the year. Post-semifinals, pre-finals. There's so much going on, so much great stuff to talk about. So many amazing kids making amazing plays. Hey, this is awesome.
He's Tim Strachan.
Oh, I'm so excited. But as you can hear, I'm playing a little hurt right now. I'm going to push through it.
It's the playoffs, buddy. You know how
It's
to
the
do
playoffs.
it.
You
Team
got to keep going.
It's going to make you angry.
But, man,
It's
this is going to be
good.
great, man. All of it.
Matt Seal.
It's what we've been waiting for.
Yes, it is.
And if it was anything like last year, we're going to be in for a treat this coming Sunday.
This is the WCAC Spectacular, the Championship Spectacular. It will be everything that we hope it will be, because that's the only thing the WCAC knows how to do. No matter what happens on Sunday afternoon or night, we have two games to talk about there, we will have had a way better ride this year as First Amendment Sports. We were in it since August 24th. We've been to 4 different schools, 5 different schools if you count Catholic, since they were a host.
It's a great school. You got to count it.
You got to count it.
All right.
You got to count it. And we've gotten to meet an awesome group of coaches, talk to an awesome bunch of players of all fall sports in WCAC, but these football players that, especially in the last two or 3 weeks.
And don't forget the parents, Ken.
I was going to
I
say,
know.
the parents
Lots of
and
great
the
parents.
people we see at the games or around town, everywhere, who's been checking it out, man.
We really appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Some of the kind words. It was a great conversation with Josh Dodd's father after we were breaking down. That seems to be par for the course everywhere we go. So, you know what? We're not messing it up too bad, fellas.
That's our profit. Everyone always is like, man, you guys hanging out, it's so much fun. You guys do such a good job.
Yeah.
You guys must be making tons of money. Not necessarily,
No.
but we are profiting. When someone comes up to you and says, thanks for what you said about my son, that's
Whoa.
your phone. Yeah, a little sound effect.
Jack is walking in the room, folks. He's right there. Oh, wait a minute.
I'm not sure how that happened. You started talking about profits, and I got all my chest started
True.
going, my elbow hit the machine.
No, but you're right, Ken. You're right. It's just being a part of this whole thing is rewarding enough. And it's the kids, it's the schools, it's the people that are involved, it's
Community.
the community.
There's
Yeah,
enough
the
positive
community
going on
involvement, sure.
that there's no. I mean, we don't even get to all the positive. So for that positive to come back to us when we get a chance to meet people out, that's amazing. I wanted to start the show by talking about the game we're going to be broadcasting at 1 o'clock, going live at 12:30 with special guest, which we will hopefully announce and then confirm the next day. Everyone knows we've been talking to Lawrence Moten for a long time. We hope he can be there. We're trying to work that out. Carol,
The Carroll Lions.
St. Mary's Riken.
The Knights.
The Knights.
The final that we probably expected, based on what these programs have been all about. Rob Harris, Aaron Brady.
Yeah, we knew it was coming down to this. I'm not saying we're the best prognologists in the nation.
Did you say prognosticators?
Endoscopy.
He's going. Yes, all kinds of proctology going on. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Between start me up, blaring, and then
We're a healthy group.
that Freudian slip of the tongue.
Sure.
Because we're not good at that. You just
No.
had an endoscopy, so
Yes.
we're going at we're coming at you from all ends tonight.
Absolutely, literally, especially with this guy right here. No, it is. It's who we thought was going to be here. Who we thought
They're awesome.
was going to
Both
rise to that game. We saw Riken play a pretty high level football in the championship last year in this spot when they beat O'Connell.
Hey,
outmanned.
They took a Counsel to the wire this season in a regular season contest. They can play some ball. They got some ridiculous receivers. We'll get into all that, but they got some ballers down there in the Hawaii.
And they're young.
Yeah.
Aloha, by the way, to all of our friends at St. Mary's Riken this evening. It's going to be. I think they're traveling on Thursday, or getting halfway here on Thursday. And I think they're going to check in
You're
somewhere
being
in
serious.
DC on Friday. Absolutely. You
I
get
don't know
that
if they're
change
being
of
serious or
time
not.
zone. Oh yeah.
Since you were very influential with this program last year, I think you should tell them, don't make the turn on Harewood Road. Take Hawaii down to
Take
Catholic
Hawaii.
University. Let's not mess around because the other guys are coming down Harewood. You don't want anything to start up before for the first whistle.
Nope.
Well, look, Aaron Brady, who played at Rutgers, knows what big time football is supposed to be, how it's supposed to be done, and they do a great job. He and Charles Woolridge, our buddy who played DeMatha, and has been along the ride with us for the better part of 20, 30 years, right?
Very true.
They're prepared. It doesn't matter how far they got to go. They understand how the game's been played because they played at the highest levels, and they've got these kids ready to go. As does Rob Harris over at Carroll.
I was going to say Rob Harris restoring the roar, getting the team back into the championship game. We had him on as a guest, and I said, that picture you have on your Twitter profile is a great picture. That was my first game ever. He's out there on the field at Carroll, just getting it done. Historical photographer that was very influential to the men of Carroll.
Yeah.
It's very cool to see what Rob has done to get his guys back into this position.
We got a Carroll
starting from scratch and coming back in.
Got a Carroll listener or a Carroll watcher. V Pools. Class of 22. That's awesome. Thank you for joining us this evening. We look forward to covering Carroll. I mean, the coolest thing about Carroll is it's a school I remember watching as a kid. When my dad would take me to WCAC football games, you might be going on your way to see a Carroll game, and I love that green. I love that helmet. It's the WCAC.
Classic
As
look.
old school as it gets. And they're in a championship game, and they should be excited.
And I cannot wait to see the Offensive Player of the Year go out and get after it. From Carroll, in the Metro Conference, the Offensive Player of the Year, a left tackle, Anton Harrison. You got to love that. The left tackle gets the Offensive Player of the Year. That's pretty awesome. And I haven't gotten a chance to see him, up close and personal while I'm present. I've seen some film. I can't wait to see him do his thing out there at Catholic University.
We could see him from Harewood when we were
He's
driving our way to
that's a
Catholic the other day.
fact.
We were looking at, we're like, wait, is that guy standing on
Yes.
a chair?
Yes.
I saw him play twice this year, and he's as great as advertised.
Yeah.
So.
Coach of the year also, right?
Oh, yeah, Rob Harris.
Coach Rob Harris.
So congratulations to Carroll on a great regular season.
Absolutely.
Same thing to the St. Mary's Riken Knights. This can be a contest, man.
Well, we don't want to put the cart in front of the horse. Would love to see a great game between these two schools, but I also think you're seeing the WCAC depth start to really grow some, and that's a problem that thankfully we don't have to worry about dealing with scheduling and all that other stuff. But every additional program that is capable of showing up on a Saturday and winning against these WCAC teams, that would be a fun result of this. If we start to see that, start to see some old school matchups. And get those Lions back involved. There was a game we called on Saturday that I thought was an awesome experience it was an awesome experience for me. I hope you guys feel the same. I'm sure you do. St. John's, DeMatha for all the marbles.
Round
In a playoff game, loser goes home, winner stays. That was fun. I'll get it started by talking about a little bit on the DeMatha side because they started Cam Edge. That's been a conversation we've been having here in the basement, not about who they should start or who's just the fun that we'll be getting to watch Cam Edge play, high school football for 4 years.
They got a special one.
They do, and he played above his age and years. He gave Coach McGregor something that got them to within 4 points, in the second half of this game. So hats off to everyone at DeMatha. But hats off to Cam and getting a freshman prepared. Hats off to Malachi Anthony.
Well, I was going to say,
I'm sure he was instrumental
sure.
in making sure that Cam Edge
For
was
sure. He
ready to go.
absolutely helped get them there, and he's a dynamic, very good player himself. Yep. What Cam just brings to the table, I think, as a team, right, is that little bit more dynamic and ability to go down the field a little bit more. I thought Cam played great. Thought Malachi was a great team player for playing that role, being ready, because he's only one play away from going back in the game anyway. And to the hats off to DeMatha for a hard-fought game. But here's the thing, and it's the first thing Coach McGregor told me right after the game. You can't spot them 17 points. You just can't. It's so hard to overcome. And then if it's against a team like St. John's,
Yep.
right? It's just that's really tough to do. They couldn't get that rhythm. They couldn't find that momentum. St. John's felt like they were in. It felt like to me they were in control of that game for the majority of the game.
They did a good job with ball possession. They had a 11-play drive, a 14-play drive, a 15-play drive, and it seemed that way. It seemed like they seized the clock, they seized the pace of the game. They didn't make any mistakes. Sol J was lights out for the fourth week in a row. That offensive line got the job done, and a guy like Rakim Jarrett, he just brings something really special to the table.
He didn't even score.
Yeah.
It's
And he hasn't had to.
No, he just won. They did go to him a lot. He had a lot of great catches and made a lot of great plays, getting first downs, moving chains. You don't always have to score. He was a team player, also playing defense at the same time the entire game. He's fun to watch.
Highlight
really
was
is.
highlight when
Because
Marshawn
he
Lloyd lined
plays
up
the game right.
and
Right.
blew him a kiss.
And it's not
He
all about
Marshawn lined up in the slot and saw number one coming up on him, and it was a straight up blowing him a kiss. Those two players having a moment in a playoff game with everything on the line, I thought that was amazing to see, because they're, first of all, they could be Sunday players. It would be an awesome thing to show on a highlight when they're playing in the league.
What made the game great, along the lines of what you're talking about, though, is as much as St. John's was in charge of that game for the majority of the game, the DeMatha, though, counters with Marshawn Lynch.
I love it. I'm going to let you say it again. It's impossible not to.
Did I do it
It's all right.
again?
It happens.
Marshawn Lloyd.
It happens. It's two great running backs.
You're my
It's
dog,
awesome.
man. You know that. It's all good. Then you got him, who's taking it 90 or 80 some yards.
17 rushes for over 140 yards and 2 touchdowns in his swan song.
Yeah.
That is that's par for the course for him.
And then you got Keziah Izzard, making big plays. You've got just guys stepping up. KJ Winston. You got guys just, and then St. John's counters back with a great play and a drive, a big third and long.
Caleb Coombs.
Yes,
Caleb
was unbelievable.
Coombs. That was
The diving catch he had for first down.
The
diving
acrobatic
catch he
play
had
for the end zone, for the touchdown. He was, he was on a different level. Caleb got himself up to playoff football, playoff speed, and was ready to make plays all over the field. And when you have, Rakim out there, and we talked to Courtney Coombs, his father, at length, and he said, I'm proud of my son sitting there. When you have a guy like Rakim Jarrett as the number one, you don't put your head down. You just work hard.
Right.
And you know what? All that hard work allowed him to star on that field on Saturday for the Cadets. He had 4 catches for about 60 yards and a touchdown. And, man, you know what? They were big plays, and they were ones that people walked out of that stadium and said, hey, how about that catch on that slant? How about that catch on that touchdown? Yep. That guy's going to be something. He's got another week to be something before he's the number one guy, too. And he has no problem being a guy that's just out there to make a ton of plays to help his team win.
The speed, you're talking about speed, having Mordecai McDaniel back to play corner, because what we saw Cam Edge be successful in doing is put a ball deep enough, put enough air under it so that it's probably not going to get intercepted. The receiver gets a step. Caleb Williams was trying to accomplish the same thing when Mordecai McDaniel was not on the field. Mm-hmm. His ability to recover on the outside and catch up with the Josh Dodds and the Jaden Bradleys and Cameron Thomas running just go routes was very impressive to see.
I said it, and we'll talk about guys we think might be all-Met guys, especially going into this weekend. Yep. He's my first-team all-Met cornerback, along with somebody else, but that would be my pick after what I've watched all season. And before we forget, can't forget about their St. John's running backs. They just got the job done. I mean, Colby McDonald, 18 rushes for over 100 yards, and the baby bus went Airbus style. Great job, Ken. I appreciate it. I was trying to think of something slick to say myself.
Boeing.
But my brain was a little frozen, and he went 13 for 55 and 2 touchdowns. Yep. Those guys.
And he played a hell of a defensive line.
And he really does. He really does. Yes, he was in on a sack. He's just how he put his imprint on that game is a box score that maybe not. I don't know if any high school players can go back and look at that box score and say, "I did that. Wait, what?
Yeah, but now everyone
did all that."
Yeah.
I challenge. We have to start.
Caught a pass
I
for
think
first down.
The catch stands out to me. I think we have to. People were asking me who the MVP of the game was, and by the end of the day, I was saying Littleton, and I was saying it because of how good he is on the defensive line. He is a unstoppable defensive lineman. Forget about what he does at running back, which you can't because he's awesome there, and 2 touchdowns and the catch. The catch, by the way, which was on a 3rd down. I think he's squirting out the right side. Sol J's on the run, puts it up. he's jumping, looking. I mean, that big guy, and he turns around and gets a steam for a third and long. I'm telling you, his defensive line play. I don't know. That's what you. If you can't answer that, then the game's over.
It's not a bad sub to have when Trey Williams is out. I mean,
Yeah.
having that girth in that spot.
That athleticism.
In the championship
Along with
game,
Taizé.
Yeah,
But
with
Taizé stood out.
Special.
Taizé had one heck of a ball game. He was carrying the flag. He was going at it with the fans. He was hooting and hollering. And
Yep.
as a captain, as a junior captain, none of the cadets
He's
are
enjoying
ecstatic to
himself.
have him around for another season after next week as well.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a player.
They would have gone to their 5-man defensive line. I mean, at one point, had they had their way, I mean, you would be looking at Trey Williams, Tyzay Johnson, M.J. Sherman, and Antoine Littleton. And Greg Hudgens, those would be your 5 guys that you're daring an offense to come at. That's pretty insane.
Yep.
So I just think that what we're seeing, we talk about all these players, the stats that we get from some of these offensive players. I have a hard time getting over trying to say like who's making a bigger impact on this game than Antoine Littleton the last 2 weeks. I don't know that there is anybody.
Well, just because of what you all said and the fact that he once you're getting inside that red zone, more like inside the 15, he's so effective in the run game, and you don't even have to give him the ball
Oh,
all
no.
the time. You don't. It's just his presence, and then him playing on the line, between after that, it's just he's having a huge impact because it's on both sides of the ball. And
Burly man running the ball.
that's what we see
You
some of the
pull
best.
it and throw an RPO. Or you run option on either side, and that guy he just attracts a lot of attention.
Oh yeah, and all the plays he didn't get the ball, which he was probably responsible for success. So he's a weapon.
But he's not just a bruiser. I mean, look, remember the play that broke down. Sol J had to check it off to Antoine. He had to make a stretching catch, then make somebody move, and then he picks up the first down. It's unbelievable.
All right.
You're gonna laugh at that.
Get your ears ready. Yeah, that's what we just talked about for like 5
I
minutes.
know. I'm loving the chat room right now too, though. Keep it up.
Precious and few are the moments we two can share. St. John's Council Sunday night.
And you're going to be there with bells on, I understand.
The bells just arrived from Amazon today,
Awesome.
and I will be wearing them, sir.
Congratulations, Tim. Congratulations to the Good Counsel family for a big, huge win. We'll talk a little bit about that game, Tim. Not too much because we want to talk about the championship. But it was an amazing, some would say shocking result that people weren't expecting it to be that one-sided, and it just was. And you have to tip your hat to Coach Stefanelli and the Good Counsel Falcons for what they did that night.
No, absolutely, and it was clear, from the first moment that Good Counsel was extremely well prepared for the game. And as a matter of fact, Gonzaga's first play from scrimmage, Caleb dropped back, and that pass was almost picked off by number 4, Harold Miles.
I was going to say Harold Miles, of course, leading receiver.
Exactly.
It was a
But
down and out for
pretty
Harold
much,
Miles, right? Yes.
Continued from there, and it was pretty much on from there. And Good Counsel's entire defense really contributed to all the plays. They had 13 sacks, and Good Counsel's 16, 17, 18, 3 guys on defense, Rhino McCorn, Mitchell Melton, and Chris Jenkins, really just create havoc, and they were doing it
unbelievable
all night. But I have to tip my hat to the coverage, because throughout the game, even though he was sacked 13 times, Caleb sat back in the pocket for what seemed, forever. And the coverage downfield was that good that he just had nobody to throw to, and Good Counsel ended up getting to him.
Well, the game plan, Tim, what I noticed was they slow played the D ends, and they spied him with Mitchell Melton. Now, Mitchell Melton is a freak athlete, and they did not bring the rush. They kind of contained Caleb in the pocket and played coverage with 7 guys, and they rushed for 90% of that game. A majority of the people that didn't see this game would say, man, those Good Counsel guys really get after it. Against St. John's, they probably blitzed 5 or 6 guys. They brought 6 or 7, 80% of the time. This was a total complete flip-flop of game plan and an understanding of the scenario, and they went out there and just kept Caleb within the pocket and then played that coverage. It was an excellent game plan, and they, you know what? They played it to perfection.
But they did. But Caleb still made his plays, and
He's gonna.
the run that he had on his first touchdown, he made a cut on the sideline
Ooh.
that no kid in the
Ooh.
area could make.
Ooh.
And the balance that he has.
I'm
to be able
sitting
to
right
twist
here,
back
Tim.
and dive.
I'm sitting
He
right
just
here.
ends up in the end zone. I mean, the guy is just tremendous. So hats off to Gonzaga for having a great season, and Caleb Williams just an amazing player.
We take our hats off a lot. I love it. I think we just, it's what we do. Tim, by the time, first of all, was the party at Grill Marks as good as I think it was? I mean, did you make it there in time for some post-game celebration?
I did. It was, as they say, off the hook.
Is that what they say, Tim? You're keeping us totally in touch with all the things they say. We appreciate you.
I don't know what we do without it.
All right, let's talk about what we got going on.
I just want to make this clear. I like
Okay.
to keep my fingers on the pulse of pop culture and clearly off the hook.
Yeah, pressure shouldn't few.
I was gonna say pressure than few.
Really,
1971,
yeah.
I believe it was the prom song for my parents in high school. But so I think you nailed that one.
Well, congratulations to your parents.
Yes,
Ken.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you. The
The championship.
game, 6
Yeah.
o'clock Sunday. We'll be there. You'll be there. St. John's, good counsel. Briefly talking about the game they played against each other. I know there's a couple guys on here I had talked to. Jim Ratcliffe, I see he's logged in. A couple other guys who were talking about how maybe nobody gave St. John's as much of a problem from their defensive line as good counsels did, and St. John's played at some pretty darn good schools, so that's pretty high praise, I think, for good counsel's front.
Yeah, it's what happened, and when you have guys back there like McCorn and Melton and Jenkins, there's a reason, and they're just so fast. Stolje has gone up against a bunch of defenses. He's had the ability to outrun the rush. You've seen that stiff arm we talk about that gains him a bunch of space. He kind of projects himself off the rush and it shoots him forward, and then he goes and makes a throw somewhere. That night, those guys he was unable to run away from them.
Yeah.
And St. John's has come a long way since then. That night, Soljay got hurt, and they had to bring in their backup, and they had a couple backups on the O-line, and I think they wound up throwing the ball over 40 times that night and rushing it just around 20. Since that night, a whole lot of things have changed, and I'm not saying that's for the better or for the worse involving good counsel. I'm thrilled to see what that offensive game plan is going to be, and how does good counsel come at it? Are they going to come back and bring two guys that they're bringing two of their three backers 90% of the time against St. John's? The pressure was just all night long. It was ridiculous.
The last time they played
I think we're going to see a lot of different things from good counsel, and because their athleticism across the board gives them a lot of versatility to be able to do different things. And one thing I noticed that they were doing against Gonzaga occasionally was going man free and bringing people, and doing that against everybody else, and then doing that against St. John's is a whole nother story because of that guy St. John's has, Rakim.
Well, they apparently didn't do that a whole lot. Certainly not as much as they did in their first game against St. John's.
Not even close.
That
It was
relentless
opposite.
pursuit.
It was opposite.
And I mean, it was a barrage. The first game between St. John's and Good Counsel. It was unbelievable what that defense for Good Counsel did in the second half. However, against Caleb, because was a better game plan for Caleb, they actually played off, and they played lanes, and they didn't let him win the game. They forced him to play a little bit of a different game than I think Caleb was expecting him to play.
13 sacks against Caleb
The
Williams.
fact that they can do that, though, makes them a very, very good defense.
And here's the deal, and that you're right, and they were all over the place, that defense. It was like there was 13 of them out there. But Rakim Jarrett had 11 catches for 195 yards, and the 82-yard hitch he took down the sidelines.
Which is play of the year, by the way.
It was so ridiculous to watch him hit that fifth gear and go up that sidelines. Then to make the catch on fourth down to come back to the ball when Good Counsel did play coverage. They rushed 4 in that snap, and there was a million guys underneath. He found a crease, caught it, snaked back, threw the ball out there. Good Counsel thought the game was over, but they had gotten the first down, and then Baby Bus took it in from there. And St. John's got out of there, and they were lucky to. But I said it when we talked about it that Tuesday. St. John's had 500 yards of offense to Good Counsel's 250. It's just when Good Counsel gets those touchdowns on defense, it just tends to, and they seem to get one every week. Every time we look up, someone scored on the defense from Good Counsel. So St. John's has got to do a good job of not giving them one like they did on that option when Nick Jenkins picked it up and scooted in from 28 yards out.
Tim, what was
Well,
it-
Good
what,
Counsel has crazy good energy right now and momentum, and I think that's going to feed into this game, and there's going to be a lot of big plays that are going to be made.
Both
on
teams are
all
playing their
sides of the
best ball right now of the season. That's a fact.
Say that again.
Both teams are
Yes.
playing their best ball.
Oh, yeah.
well, Tim, the
Well,
coach
they're peaking
definitely
at the exact same time, right? Exact perfect time.
right, and Coach definitely said it. I think best after the game. He says the defense and the special teams had been carrying the team for the most part all year long, but for some reason everything just clicked that night for them offensively. What was it that you see, or do you think made the biggest difference in them clicking that?
It's
Savion.
owns Gonzaga.
Well, of
He's
course.
got 3 enormous games against Gonzaga.
But Chase
And,
Williams, he woke up a little bit. He had a really nice touchdown pass. I mean, it seemed like the passing game also opened up.
Well, they ran
A
it
little
39 out of
bit, but they're
42
really not
times.
throwing the ball that much, T. I mean, they use their 3 running backs. They go with an I formation. They go with a split set back there, and they got 2 of the athletes, whether it's Lee J, Savion, or Aaron. So, I mean, they got a lot of guys to pick from, but Savion is the one who really can break free. And, in the Gonzaga game, a couple of his long runs came. Gonzaga had 9 guys in the box. So once he cleared the first level, there was nobody else there if he broke a tackle, and that's pretty much what happened. But he has that breakaway speed, and he's shown that all year. He just has shown it against Gonzaga so much, and I expect him to do big things, but I expect big things from the other running backs too, and I think that's going to help them. But as Coach said, the defense and special teams have made big plays and touchdowns all year. That is going to happen again Sunday night.
Speaking of the running backs, and this is I love these crazy stats that we get to look at and pay attention to. Savion's patience was ridiculous. His burst and speed is just as nasty. And if anyone's out there listening, throw this man a scholarship. This guy can play at any level on the next level, and they're going to come in due time, and I know that for a fact. But how about there's 6 running backs out there, 3 on each side, that start for 99% of every high school football team in the nation. I know we've talked about we have over 14,000 high school football teams. And I'm telling you, these 6 are ridiculous. Different styles, different ages, different sizes. But all 6 are ridiculously good and would just start anywhere and be a workhorse anywhere. All 6 of those guys scored touchdowns in this first matchup. How about that? All 6 of them. 3 running backs from Good Counsel and 3 running backs from St. John's all went to the house at some point that night. And I think we're going to certainly see a lot more of that on Sunday night as well.
Hey, they call it a stable of ponies, and both teams got them, and we're going to see it, and it's really going to be an amazing thing to see all those athletes out there on both sides of the ball too. But
yeah, we might as well play this game at Pimlico if that's the case, because they're all over the place.
Tim, are you going to be out there tailgating beforehand?
I'm going to be there with the bells that are
Yeah, come on.
I know. I'm looking
The
for
Amazon bells.
looking for someone who's going to be grilling out, in that lot behind the field. We might be able to sneak ourselves some food from a tailgate in between these games. We're going to be there all day long. So if you're over there, we see that smoke coming out of that Weber, and you're making something good behind that truck.
We'll find you.
Yeah, let us know. We will definitely want to sample some of your tailgate fare. Game starts at 6. We'll go live around 5:30. Tim, Good Counsel wins the championship game if
Good Counsel's keys to success to winning the WCAC.
the one thing. If
championship.
one thing happens, give me one thing. If Good Counsel does this one thing you're about to tell us, we're probably talking about a Good Counsel win. What's that one thing?
It's the one. It's kind of boring because it's the one thing I've said a million times. They're going to make a big play on defense or special teams. That interception for a touchdown by Ronald McCorn last week was a backbreaker for Gonzaga. And those kind of plays are the ones that win games because of the momentum that they create. And Good Counsel is going to ride the energy, and they have to believe. Good Counsel, St. John's 35, Good Counsel 38, champs.
What? Did he?
Shocker.
I think he ghosted.
I think he.
Is he out?
Did he?
Is
He's
he
still
there?
Are
buddy?
you? Did you just?
Well,
yeah.
He hit the mute button on us.
What, I don't know if this is shtick. I don't know
Well-
what we're doing here.
Yeah. All right. I'll
he's
tell you what.
back.
Hey,
He's
Tim,
back.
35-38 Falcons. We got you booked. We'll see you on Saturday.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Might see you Saturday,
Might see
but
you
definitely
Saturday.
Sunday.
There's by the way,
Tomorrow.
there's about 25 different dates and times of all these games. Just so we're all clear, 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, Carol Riken. 6 o'clock Sunday night, St. John's. Good Counsel. Tim, we'll see you there, buddy.
I had a quick question.
All right.
What was the key to Carroll's success in getting into the championship? It's a trivia question. Does anybody know from the season?
They had the offensive player of the year on their offensive line.
A left tackle.
It was the double bye.
The double
bye.
bye.
We're big fans of the double bye down here.
Whoa.
You're right. You're absolutely right,
Wow.
Tim Reddy. The double bye is the secret weapon for every successful story.
We
Kind
actually
of like
talked
you
about the
played
double bye.
2 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Tim. We'll see you on Sunday.
Looking forward to it, guys. As they say, good counsel, good people. See ya!
All right, Tim Strachan.
Yes.
Good Counsel wins if.
Well, we all know what good counsel does well, and they got to do those things, obviously.
So
I think the thing that puts them over the
All right.
edge, I put an over-under on X factor plays in the passing game for good counsel. That is a play over 40 yards.
All right.
Doesn't necessarily have to, result in a touchdown, but I think it's big plays in the passing game when they really need them most is one of the X factors that can help good counsel win this game.
You got one? Anyone else got one?
If that stable of running backs from good counsel gets going, if they get going, because listen, if they put good counsel in a position where they have to throw the ball, that's when listen, this St. John's defense has given up less points in WCAC play than the good counsel defense. Because of what happened early in the season, people tend to overlook this St. John's defense. And if you let them just line up and get after it in a passing situation, that's a tough spot to be in. So they have got to get Savion you got to get him uncorked. You got to get Sean Aaron going, and he's made some plays also in the passing game, catching that pass last week. And Lee J. Hatcher, those 3 guys, they're nasty. If they can get those guys going consistently, then that's how they win this game.
No turnovers for the Falcons. They play a clean game
Yeah.
offensively.
I will say
That
if
gives them a great
Savion,
shot.
if they turn him into a receiver, if they're able to get the ball to him in the passing game. So I say if Savion has over 50 yards receiving, we're probably talking about a good counsel win. St. John's wins if.
It's going to be too cliche, but I honestly think that St. John's can be their biggest enemy in this game. No offense to good counsel, but I think St. John's is a team that right now is, as you said, Kev, playing their best football. Having learned from the schedule that they had this year, what would hurt them most is having huge negative plays that stall drives that don't allow them to seize that momentum and that just the control of the game that we saw them get against DeMatha this past weekend.
St. John's wins if.
Soldier Maeva stays on this role. The senior has turned into a player. He's always been great, but he's taken that extra step, that senior leadership. He has not turned the ball over. He has made plays out of nothing. He has led this team with his physicality in the run game and his ability. We talked about a little bit post game. He made a couple of decisions in the run game in the red zone that were a little off schedule as far as the coaching staff was concerned. Something that you would get out of a senior guy that you trust. Hey, if you get this look, maybe you keep it. And you know what? He saw something and he kept it on that fake pitch around the corner.
Yep.
And that's the level he's gotten to. When you have a senior quarterback playing at this level, if he continues this on Championship Sunday, then I think St. John's has the ability to win.
You got one for us?
Contain the good counsel running backs. The
Contain the
three-headed
running
monster.
game. All right. I'm going to give you Bryce Butler. If you let Mitchell Melton and Chris Jenkins be very one-dimensional and focusing on Sol J and keeping him, basically keeping him in check, then St. John's in trouble. If Bryce Butler can be a successful blocker on those guys when he's in the H-back spot, when he's swinging across the line of scrimmage and he's taking that D end in the running game, and if he can make them start thinking about him as a pass catcher from that tight end spot and get some of that OLB, DE attention from Sol J and Colby McDonald.
I'm proud of you.
That to me, so Bryce Butler is the you like that?
I'm proud of you.
Yes.
That's damn good for a tennis star.
Yes.
That's a good analysis right there, and I think that is a good pull.
Soccer.
So
Definitely.
if we're talking about a St. John's win, if we're talking about the game that Bryce Butler played in those areas.
Well done, McEnroe.
Yes. Yes, or McNamara, we might even say.
Oh God.
Come on.
All right.
It's championship week. It's been a year to the day since last year's championship, I believe. Hats off to Zach Poff and the folks at Max Preps for remembering. Happy anniversary to you guys too. It was a great day for high school football. If anyone who loves high school football, it was a great day for you.
Yeah, remember where you are so you can remember where you were, and we'll never forget where we were that night.
not.
We were screaming at the top of our lungs like school kids, man.
It was awesome.
Listening to it again today was kind of funny.
I know. Oh my God! Yeah.
I can't think about it without smiling. I mean, it's too good, and it's we had just started. That was really our first. We had done the week before at St. John's at Gonzaga, and it was a big game for St. John's and Gonzaga people. That game was big for the world, and we got to be
a part
there.
of it. Look, we have nothing to do with any of it. Absolutely any of it. We're just happy to be a part of it. Happy to bring it to those who can't make it. Happy to be with everybody and doing it. But man, that was a great way to get things started. And to be honest with you, none of the games we've done have disappointed. None of the games that we have done have disappointed. They have all been entertaining. The kids are great. The coach is great. The schools are great. It can't be anything less than great this coming Sunday. But I mean, topping what happened last year would be an extremely
we're going to do it.
We just go about it differently.
Somehow,
It's not going to be
right.
the same, but you know what? There could be a defensive play involved.
Oh, it's going to
at
be
the end of the game. There's
It's
all
going to
kinds
be
of
great
options.
in its own right, just like all the other ones before it has.
We've seen many of these WCAC finales, and right at the
DeMatha,
top
good
of our head,
counsel.
there's
DeMatha,
5 of them,
yep.
and St. John's DeMatha 3 years ago. There's all kinds of stuff we could
DeMatha,
reference.
good counsel that
Yep.
ended with
All
the
kinds of
fake
crazy
pitch,
things happen,
the
I
shadow
know.
pitch. I mean, just stuff like that has been unbelievable.
Well, we're looking forward to this game ending with someone making a fantastic play. We don't want to, but the pressure that these young men are under at this point, they've come this far, and you know what? They're not thinking about that. And I think some of the adults might, but the kids aren't. They get an opportunity
No, they're getting
to
ready.
play in this game. This has been the goal for over 200 people, if you include both sides and coaching staffs. This has been the date that they've had circled, and they got it, and they earned it. They earned the right to be here.
It's going to be one of the greatest moments in their life, and they're getting prepared for that right now. We can remember preparing ourselves on the Tuesday before the championship game because we've both been in those shoes. I mean, I love it. I love it. Brings back memories. It brings back, a lot of nostalgia. It's awesome.
We'll be there on Sunday. Do us a favor. Click on this banner. Subscribe. Give us a subscription. It's free. You'll get a notification when we're going live on Sunday. Hi, right back to you, Hawaii. See our boy Woolridge is logged in. Best of luck to you guys. Best of luck to all your athletes and the young men who are making the 3-day journey all the way up here on Sunday for that game.
Cross country.
Absolutely. Until then, have some fun. This championship week, all you kids out there watching, do your homework. You still got to go to school, but don't you think Monday?
All right, take it easy.
Monday should
Take
be a
it
day
easy.
off. Maybe we should just get like a day
right,
off on
Professor.
Monday.
Like the Super Bowl
Everybody.
Monday, a
Super
national
Bowl Monday.
holiday.
The day after the WCC championship
Oh, man,
should be
I
a
gotta
day off
think
of
about
school.
We'll call it First Amendment Day.
First Amendment Day.
They said I could take off.
He's Matt the Real Deal Seal.
You are not allowed to take the day off. Education's
That's
important.
how you want to go out.
Your education's important. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, he's got a great reverse mortgage commercial coming out
Stay
later this
tuned.
year. You can watch it at 2 o'clock in the morning. He's Tim Strachan.
Just one quick thing before we go. Want to throw out there, Cole Donaldson. All our prayers. Everybody who's with you. We're glad
Yes.
you're doing great. That you're going to be fine. But also shout out to St. John's, DeMatha, Casamento, Coach McGregor for bringing the kids together, having the prayer. Again, probably a highlight actually of the game that we did.
It was awesome.
Without a doubt, despite the fact that Cole got hurt.
Right. That's
And we're just so happy that you're going to be okay. And, the whole community is pulling for you, my man.
yeah. Good luck, Cole, in the rehab.
He's Kevin Ricka.
And I do say you all can take the day off school on Monday. That's just counter to Matt Seal. But how about this? If you are at the game, there's a lot of parts at Catholic University, and it's going to be packed. You're not going to be able to see the whole thing. Pull out your phone and watch us because we're on about a 30-second delay. You want to see some replays and actually see what happened and get a better look at it. Don't be afraid to pull your phone out while you're there. We have it all for you. It's going to come through clear as a bell, and you'll be able to sit there with the person next to you and say, look, he was inbounds or he was out of bounds. There's no reason. You can turn us down. I'm just saying. Do whatever you got to do so not to offend anyone, but or put in the earbuds.
I turned them
and
down
have
a couple times tonight already.
But hey, just if you're at the stadium and you want to get a better viewpoint of some of these angles and and it's awesome what we got. Take a peek at it. Hey, until championship Sunday, be a good sport.
Oh yeah, you gotta stay grounded, be grounded, guys.
WCAC is spectacular. I'm Ken Marangolo. We'll see you on Sunday. Still live, guys.
That's right.
Still live.
Still live. Hey, great chat tonight, guys. Great chat. For all you first timers, thanks for coming.
Thanks for
Come
being
on
here
back.
with us.